Good morning, students. So, for today moral class, I have chosen some interesting story that you can learn some moral value from that. Let me present my screen. Here, the topic presents. For today's moral class, I have chosen the topic the oil that kept flowing. Let's see the story. Once there was a widow of one of the son of the prophets. His This woman had two sons, yet she was very unhappy because she did not have anything to feed her children. This was because the boy's father, who had died suddenly, had owned a large bill because his wife could not pay the bill. The creditor had taken everything from the house except a pot of oil. So, from this, you can understand this story in short. So, there was a widow lady, and her husband was dead. After her husband dead, she have to pay the bill whatever her husband have bought before he died. There is many bill yet to be paid, but she cannot able to pay the bills. So the creditor came to this woman's house, and the creditor taken all the things except a pot of oil. The creditor taken all the valuable things, whatever this woman has in her home. The creditor taken all the things away, and he just left uh, the pot of oil. Why the creditor thought that what I'm going to do with this pot of oil, let's leave that and take other all valuable things. So he thought like that, and he taken away all the things except the pot of oil. And this lady was very unhappy after his husband death. The two sons. The woman has two sons. Also, she was unhappy because she cannot feed. She have nothing to feed her children. So mainly she was unhappy for that. Let's move to the story. Prophet Eliza meets the widow. One day, the man came to his women and said to her, "You have not paid me, but what you own me. So I'm going to take your two sons to be my servant." So, what he's saying, one day, so this incident happened. After the incident happened, the creditor came again to this woman house, and he's saying to the women that you have not yet paid the bill, so I'm taking your two sons, and I make them to be my servants. I make them to work for my works as a servant. So this made the women very sad. Hearing this news is very bad to her. So hearing this, she felt very sad. However, God is always present, and He never let His children be unhappy. This is the God's word, that God will not let let his children to be unhappy. He will be there with you all at any time. At all the time, the God will be there. So God sent his thoughts of goodness to guide everyone. Whoever turns to him when he is unhappy finds a solution. So I want to denote that you people have also experienced, you may have some experience that when you feel unhappy or you may have some problem, so during that time you will be believing in God only. No one will help you at any cost. There is a only one personality who is always with you in your heart. So who is that? The person is God. He will be visible at any place. So God sends His thought of goodness to guide everyone. So whoever it may be that turns to Him when he is unhappy to, that makes to find a solution. At last, this dear woman began to believe in God. He would help her. She thought. All of sudden, God sent a thought to her. It was like a bright light, for it was full of hope. She thought of asking Eliza, the prophet, to help her. So, what happened? This widow woman started believing in God. So, whatever problem you have, don't believe others. Just believe in God and just believe in yourself that you can come over and you can have the ability to solve the problems, whatever it may be. So, one day, this lady thought that she started to believe in God. Surely she thought that He would help her, that God will help her. She believed like that. So all of a sudden, one God sent her thought to her. It was like a bright light, for it was full of hope. She thought of asking Eliza, the prophet, to help her. Eliza is a character uh, who is there to help this woman. She remembered that the son of the prophet had said that Elijah's word of spiritual understanding had been passed on to Eliza. So she went to this wise, loving, and understanding man to ask what she should do. So she thought of asking some solution from Eliza. So he thought he believed in that too. So this woman started to explain her problem to Eliza. So she told him all about the troubles which made her family poor and unhappy. After the woman had told the prophet everything, he understood that the women's thoughts were full of fear. So the woman has fear. With that fear, she cannot overcome with her problem. So this Eliza thought of that. He understand that the women's thoughts were full of fear. She had not seen God's goodness nor seen that he was ever present. So, what he is thinking, she had not seen the God's goodness in her life, nor seen that he was never present. So, on the time when these women have the problem, she is not a she has not believed in God. But when she started believing in God, only she came to know how to solve all the things. When she explained all her troubles, that how this poor and unhappy affects this lady's family. So by explaining that, Eliza understood everything about her family. He knows that God's wealth could be found everywhere. Now, Eliza provides a strange solution for her. Now Eliza is giving some ideas to overcome a poor and unhappy. Here, Eliza providing some strange solution. Let's see what to that. But Eliza was very kind to the woman, and he listened carefully to all that she told him. Then he said to the woman, "What hast thou in the house?" And the woman answered and said, "I have nothing in my house but a pot of oil." What she said? When Eliza asking that, what are the things that you have in your home? Just this woman said, "I have nothing. I have nothing in my home except a pot of oil." When the wise prophet heard that the women had a pot of oil, what he think that this women have a pot of oil. She has something to get solved his to get solved of her problems. He immediately knew that a pot of oil was something. So that can he believed that Eliza believed that this pot of oil can make some change in her life. So what he thought, but to the women it was nothing. So the women thought that it was nothing. The pot of oil, how it can helps me. So it was nothing to me. This is a thought of the women. But Eliza, what he thought, this pot of oil can make her life better than these situations. So Eliza told the women to borrow many empty vessels. Now Eliza giving some idea to this woman. Eliza told the women to borrow many empty vessels from all her neighbors and bring them to her house. So what he's asking the women, he asked the women to borrow some empty vessels from all her neighbors and asked them to bring all the empty vessels to her house. Then she and her sons should then shut the door. He asked the women to shut the door of the house so as to be alone with God. Then they were to pour the oil they had in their pot into the many other vessels which they had borrowed. So what the next idea Eliza have given after getting the empty vessels, keep it all the empty vessels in your house and just shut all the doors that so as to be alone with God. So believe in God, take the pot of oil, what how much you have, and just pour into all the empty vessels you have, what from your neighbors. This woman was shocked how it happens. So anyway, she believed in that Eliza's idea and she started doing what Eliza said to her. She just shut all the doors and take the pot of oil and she just what she's doing. She's just pouring it to all the empty vessels. Now, miracles of the oil. Though the women did not understand how her little pot of oil could possibly fill so many vessels, yet she obediently did exactly as Eliza had told her to do. She borrowed many vessels from her neighbors. Then she called her two sons into the house and shut the door of her house carefully. She then took her pot of oil and began to pour oil into all the empty vessels. Soon the first vessel was filled. This was very shocking, right? So, this small pot of oil filled the very first vessels, and the second vessel also was filled, and then the third and then the fourth were also filled. Still, the oil from the little pot kept flowing until every vessel which the women had borrowed was filled to the brim. After this, the women ran to Eliza. So this incident was very shocking. So after this incident happens, how it is possible? This ladies thought. After this, the women ran to Eliza. What shall I do next? She asked him. Every vessel is full of oil. Then Eliza told her that she could now take the oil and sell it. From that, she was to take the money and pay the man who she owned. So, what he's saying, he asking the women to sell the pot of oil, they filled vessels, no, the other empty vessels also filled. Now she have so much of quantity of oil in all the vessels that have been filled. So Eliza asking her to sell all the oils and get the money from that, and then you can pay to the creditor, that man who she owned. She then and her sons would be free from all the debts, and they could live on the money that was left. So how much they gain, they can pay to the creditor how much he owned. So after paying that, the remaining money will help this woman to lead a happy life. So Eliza thought of this and gave this idea, and the women also did the same. Now the women understood the God's blessing. The women sold all the oils as Eliza had told her to do. Then she took the money and paid the man who wanted to take her two sons as his servant. So what the incidents happened now? Then she took the money after selling the oil. She took the money and paid the man who wants to take her two sons as his servant. Now this uh, as the sons wants to serve as a servant, that cannot happen, right? So she paid how much to be paid. She paid all the money to the creditor. Now two sons was left free. Now her sons were free, and did not own anyone any money now. Now you see how wrong it was for the women to believe that she had nothing in her house. All the time, God was there to help her find a way. Eliza had taught her that God will fulfill everybody's needs according to His divine plan. If anybody needs anything, they can find a way to show that how they are ready to receive these blessings. The woman and her two sons were no longer afraid, and they had all that they needed. From then on, they were very happy. So, the moral of the story says that you have to believe in yourself and to believe the God. Don't think of that. I don't have nothing to live, nothing to lead my life. I want to stop. I want to end my life. So these all the thoughts, these all the negative thoughts should be left out from your life. You should throw all these negative thoughts from your life. There is a God. You should believe in yourself first, and you should believe in your God. How much you believe in yourself, that your belief that shows you are believing in God. So don't worry about what you don't have. Just live with what you have. That will help you to live a happy life. If you are expecting more, then you will face something. Everything is not permanent. Listen, that life is also every human's life, every living organism's life in this world is very temporary. It's not a permanent thing to live in this world. So live with what you have, believe with what you have, and work along with that. Try to improve with that what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. This is the main thing that I want to say. This is the moral of the story. So believing is a main thing. Believing in the God is the main thing that you should understand from this story. And uh, I want to show a video of this whole story, that Eliza, the widow, and the oil. I have posted this video. Just have a look onto that also. If you have any doubts regarding this story, you can look onto this video. Okay, students, thank you. Let's meet up with some interesting moral story in the next class.